Hi fellow readers and welcome on my channel. My name is Marie and today we're going to be talking about some underrated books. Now, when I say underrated, I don't mean books that nobody talks about. I mean books that don't get talked about enough. I mean books that I think don't get the recognition that they deserve, even though we have so many great books out there. And people keep talking about The Cruel Prince, Akatar, Harry Potter, all those very, very famous and also very cool sagas. I'm not taking that away from them. But I think some books deserve way more recognition than they get. And today I'm here to maybe convince you guys of reading some of my all-time favorite books. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. The first book that I have is called Cassandra Saw by Gwen.E.Kirby. This is a collection of short stories. This is her debut novel, well, her debut book, because it's not a novel, it's a collection of short stories. If she has written anything else, I will pick it up and I will read it. And this is just the kind of author that I would read anything that they write. Because she proved with those short stories that she can write anything. And it's such a great book and I haven't seen it anywhere. So do yourself a favor, please pick up this book. It is a great collection of short stories. But basically this starts with Cassandra, who is a Trojan woman, and her curse is that she can see the future, but nobody is ever gonna believe her. She knows that Troy is gonna fall, she knows that the Greeks are gonna win, and nobody believes her, so she can't really warn them, but she knows what's happening and she sees way further into the future because she's kind of like a prophetess, and she has seen many things that are gonna happen in the world, even though nobody cares. So the first short story is just about shit that Cassandra saw. And well, it's just like basically what the whole book is about. And I think that is such a clever way of starting a collection of short stories. Like, this is so good. And I'm gonna tell you guys about my favorite short story, the one that stuck with me the most. So the first one, obviously, the first one is called Shit Cassandra Saw and didn't bother to tell the Trojan because at that point, fuck them anyways. I'm sorry, but how cool is that? So that one obviously stuck with me, but I think it was the point of making it the first short story of the collection. The short story that stuck with me the most is called Jerry's Crab Shack 1 star. This short story is a review for a restaurant that where a guy goes to eat with his wife. And as you read, you realize that his objective review is actually influenced by the things that happen in his life. And I think this stuck with me because I've worked in restaurants my whole life. It's basically the only job that I know for now. And I read countless of reviews from customers. I like looking at the reviews because some people can be very nice. And some people can be way less nice. And I think, like, basically this particular short story just like sums up the way people feel when they write reviews, whether they're good or bad, and like the way that the review is actually influenced by what happens in their lives, what happened like during the day and stuff. And it was done with so much humor. Like, it was great. It's like the greatest short story I'll probably read in my life, and I think you guys should pick up this book because I've looked it up online when I first got it and I haven't seen anybody talk about it. This is such a good book and it has so many great stories inside and so many great quotes. This book is a jewel because this is basically like 20 stories in one book, so it's great. I don't know how I could advertise this book better, but it deserves way more recognition than it gets. The next book that I have, and this is gonna be long because it is one of my all-time favorite books. So the next book that I have is called This Is How You Lose the Time War. It is written by Amal Mohtar and Max Gladstone. This is not such an underrated book because it has its own special edition. The edition that I got is the Illumicrate special edition. However, this book, I think, has been forgotten since it came out, and I am gonna make it my own personal mission to bring this back in BookTab and like Bookstagram and stuff, because it is the greatest book I've read in like 5 years, and probably one of the best romance that I will ever read in my life. So do with that what you will. This is a standalone. Sorry, I didn't mention that, but it's a standalone. The special edition just has like 2 books, but it's the same book. I don't know why they did that. They're gorgeous though, so I'm not gonna complain. This follows the story of 2 main characters, Blue and Red. They are girls. It's a sapphic romance, and they work for different agencies that are at war, and they live in a world where different people use this time to win a very important war that's been waging, and they're enemies. They both work for opposite sides, and as a provocation, Blue is gonna leave a letter for Red to read, basically saying like, hey, you're never gonna win this war and I'm always gonna be smarter than you. And out of spite, Red actually responds, and from then on they're gonna start writing letters to each other, falling in love with each other, and starting to question why they're even at war in the first place, and they're gonna start to think that maybe there's something bigger. And I loved this book so much because it doesn't have the pretension like all of the other dystopian setting books to just like bring down the government or stuff. They just want to live their lives. But this is not the story of how they save the world and how they end the war together. This is the story of how they find a place for one another to exist and a place to be together in a world that won't let them be together. And I think that was just a clever way of doing this story. And honestly, this idea for the story is like so cool, and I could not imagine a better way for it to exist. Like, there is no other format of this book that could satisfy me. They did a great job with the story that they had. I looked it up because I literally saw only one video on TikTok about this book. That was the video that made me want to read the book, and then it was just like completely gone from BookTok. Nobody ever talked about it. I've never seen any other video about this book. So I took the matters in my own hands and I looked it up online. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and see what people think about this book because I have just been shattered. I found that not so many people like this book, and I can't understand why. Like most people were saying that they were trying too hard with the language. So as a French person, as someone who sometimes struggles to understand what she's reading, let me just tell you that this does not take anything away from the story. Like, I struggled to read that book. At some point, sometimes I was like, wait, did I just miss something? Or like, I don't understand what's happening. But the book was just so good that it did not bother me one bit, the struggles that I went through reading this book. Like, it was worth it. I don't understand why people don't talk about it more. I don't understand. It is such a simple book. It is a standalone. It doesn't take much time to read it. This book moved me in a way not many books do. I hope you guys pick this book up and enjoy it the way I did, because like, this is one of the books that I wish I could read again for the first time. The next book that I have is Ink. It is part of a trilogy. You have Ink, you have Spark, and you have Scar. I found these books at my local bookstore in France in 2019 when I had come back from my year in India, and I was just like starting to get into reading books in English, but like actual novels. And this, I don't understand why nobody talks about these books, because it's a dystopia. I have a lot of dystopia. It's a dystopia. It's about this girl who lives in a world where tattoos are very, very important. Every single thing you've done, every deed is marked on your skin, is carved onto your skin forever. And when you die, people make a book out of your skin, and you can read through your ancestors' past, and that way they live on, that way they never die. And I just love that concept so much. So I love the idea, like I love just the story, and I think it deserves way more hype because it's actually very well written. But anyways, I really enjoy those. The last and next book that I have is not an underrated book. It is a book that has won many prizes. It is a book that is praised in France. It is a book that most people my age have read or know because it's been on the shelves of bookstore for maybe like ever since it came out. This book is not underrated. However, I think that in the English speaking world, you guys don't know about it. And I think it's very sad because you're missing out on like the greatest story ever written. Let me pitch this book for you. Basically, the world has been shattered into countless of pieces, and now people live on those arch. And it's the story of that girl. Her name is Ophelia, and she can do two really cool things. She can go through mirrors as a way of traveling, and she's a reader, which means that she can read the past of every object that she touches, which is why she has to wear gloves all the time, because every time she touches something, she feels its story. And one day, her family, her mom and dad, are gonna marry her off to someone that's coming from very, very far away, and she doesn't know what this man could get out of marrying her because she's a clumsy, stupid kind of girl, which she actually not. She's very clumsy, but she's actually very, very smart. So she's gonna unravel like the truth of her marriage and what it implies, and it is such a great story. And the world building of that book, it's like I wish I could read it for the first time again, because it is a amazing world building, and the storytelling is great, and the main character is so like Ophelia is she's such a relatable kind of character. Like you can't imagine the world that you will step in once you flip the first page. And I think that's sad, like really, because this book is great, the story is great, and the world where this takes place is just amazing. And I wish this book was more talked about. I know that it's been translated and nobody talk about it. I don't see anyone talk about it. So I'm bringing you today some French culture. Go pick up this book and read the saga. It has 4 books. They are so great and so freaking amazing. This is the end of this video. I hope you guys liked it. Go pick up some of those books and give them more hype.